What is up, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith, and I am joined by Kyle West and Adam Carlson. And normally I'll do an intro for you guys one by one and ask how you're doing. I'll get to that. But today we're going to start the show with violence, and you get to name a hot take on food that I don't know, people might not like. Maybe it's your least favorite or your most overrated. But we were talking about this before, and I want to get the show started with some random nonsense. So fire away, boys. What's an overrated food or your least favorite food? And go.
Overrated food is interesting because I feel like everyone, just varies from person to person. I'll be perfectly honest. I do think steak is a little overrated just because you have to have it done so precise to the way you want it that you run that risk of like just getting an overcooked, chewy piece of shit. And I'm not a fan of that. Also, secondly, any kind of like crab legs. Crab legs take so fucking long to cook and get done right, and then you're like, man, I'm hungry, and you crack them open, and there's like that much meat on the inside of it when you're done. You're like, well, now that I'm done with that, I'm gonna go to McDonald's and get some fast food.
I thought you were gonna take mine there with that crab legs thing, but I got a completely different thing. It's seafood, but lobster. What? Why? Why are people paying this much for lobster? Lobster tastes like almost nothing. It's the butter sauce that they dip it in that people like. Get some bread, dip it in, it's just as good.
I've never had lobster. I don't really like seafood, so.
I love seafood, but I'm with you both on.
And lobster is so expensive.
Yes, that is the angle I'm going with. I was going to say with Kyle, like, here's crab legs. That'll be $78 for the plate because for some reason that's the labor it costs to get it.
And now you got to crack them all to get to the food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe once a year I'll have those, and it's usually when I'm out with a group. I have never conscientiously been like, I'm by myself tonight. I want to do the most work ever and pay a lot of money. I've never said that. It's just, I don't know. Tex-Mex, what's up, Charlotte? Jonathan are in the chat. I'm going to give you one because everybody thinks I'm crazy for this, but I can't stand them. It's the texture and consistency. Pickles, all-time number one. Get the fuck out of here. I don't want it ever. I don't want it anywhere near anything. Ever.
Penalty box. How do I mute you?
Is it vinegar you don't like, or what is it?
Yeah, it's that tangy, like, kick you in the face, like, bitterness. I hate it, and the texture's not fun, which leads me into two others. I am not a fan of mushrooms. I know.
That's fair.
I don't like mushrooms, and I don't like olives either. Any of those in that category of squishy. I'm not an oyster guy either because it feels like I'm eating snot. I'm like, there are people
are disgusting.
Thank you. Yeah, some people, especially in the South, like in Florida or Louisiana, or whatever, they'll have a whole meal just cracking oysters. I'm like, good for you. I'm trying to be like understanding that nobody has to like what I like. But man, I had those one time when I was younger, and I had to eat them with saltine crackers and hot sauce. Number one, to make it feel like I was actually eating something. But that thing slid down the back of my throat, and I was like,
whoa.
Since the three of us here ask these questions, mint ice cream, do any of you guys think it tastes like toothpaste? Because I don't.
I don't really like mint. Maybe my chewing gum, obviously, but I'm a very plain ice cream kind of person. I like chocolate and strawberry, and that's about it.
How about cilantro? Yeah. Are you guys no cilantro people?
Yeah, I like cilantro. I don't have to. It's not a requirement. If it's not on my street tacos, I'm not going to be like, this sucks.
Yeah, I have no strong opinion.
Because those are foods that taste very different to different people.
I've already started to piss people off in the chat. You're dead. I'm sorry.
Charles,
all right?
one of those people that thinks cilantro tastes like soap.
Kimchi's a good choice. I woke up today. I wouldn't believe I was dreaming the Vikings win. Yeah, I can't wait to get into this game.
That was a good victory.
Squishy. Yeah, you should make a comment. I like seafood. Like Kyle and Adam don't like. I'm a big sushi guy. There's a place that here, like, I was so pumped to move back for many reasons.
Wait, when did I say I don't like seafood?
Oh, I thought you meant with the lobster or whatever else you lump that in. I guess it was just Kyle's like not a big.
Yeah, I don't really like seafood.
You got to try lobster at least once, man. It just sucks. Like, I think lobster tastes great, but for the price of it, I never
for
eat
someone
it.
else to.
What's that?
Don't pay for it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I just don't buy it because it's so damn expensive. It's good for you, and it's not like it's going to give you any calories or anything. It's very light, so you can eat a lot of it, but you got to have big wallet to eat a big plate of lobster. It's a lot. God, see, this hurts my heart. I lived in Texas for almost 3 years. Thumbs down to Tex-Mex. I love Tex-Mex. It's super easy. I love that. Charlotte,
it's hard to beat a good catfish. Catfish is so good.
That's good.
That's
too.
very true, Adam.
That's a good point. Charlotte, you're saying you don't like calamari? Interesting.
It's rubbery. It
is very rubbery, but damn, I love the taste.
Tough taste. Oh God, lobster pizza. I'll throw out another one right here while I'm reading and thinking about it. Don't put noodles on other foods. Noodles don't go in sandwiches. They don't go on pizza. No, stop.
I got to give a shout out to one of my friends, Buttles, man. He was a big Cleveland Browns fan. Him and his wife make me laugh so hard. On Facebook, they will say these outlandish things like we're doing, and they will be like, I publicly disagree, or I publicly agree with you. Adam, I will publicly agree with you. Stop putting noodles on shit, all right? Especially on pizza. There's no point of that. You know when you can combine noodles with another food? When you go to Panda Express and you say, I don't know if I want rice or, the noodles. Just mix them in and give me half and half. That's fine. I can split the first part of that, but you said on a sandwich? This is a thing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ooh. Don't do that. Be better, people.
You've never had macaroni and cheese on a hamburger?
I've seen it places. I'm thinking more of the traditional noodles, like a stir fry or something like that, but that makes sense. Yeah, don't put pasta on a sandwich. Don't do that. That's weird.
I don't want a spaghetti sandwich.
I'm guilty. What I like to do is I like to put it on my garlic bread because it's going to the same place. But
I'm not doing that.
I'm not gonna go out of my way to be like, I'm gonna make a spaghetti sandwich. Like, there's something there. It's like I want to get inside those people's minds and be like, what happened? What brought you to this place?
What
right
hurt
here?
you? Show me what hurt you to get you to this point.
Lobster pizza was pretty bad. That sounds terrible.
Crab rangoon pizza though, pretty good.
Me and Adam are both on we will die on the crab rangoon hill. We were both there. Dude, Jonathan, I had that when I was in the military. The first time I had surf and turf was overseas. And the particular base that I was on, it was so, I would say bougie is what we would call it because, we're Air Force guys. We get some of the better things. They had different chow halls because the base is so big. They didn't serve the same meal at the same time every day. They rotated. So if you wanted to get this multiple times a week, you could do it. Or the spaghetti it's kind of hard to fuck up, even if you're overseas. They'd have spaghetti multiple days a week. You know what I had 3 or 4 times a week? Spaghetti. It was great.
See, I was gonna guess sex.
With the spaghetti.
On this particular deployment,
you want spaghetti? I guess that's just as good, right?
Well, on this particular deployment, you would be correct. I won't get into the details on that, but yes, that was a lot of fun. I wish that I could have stayed there longer. All food is great if made with love. Sergio, I'm going to publicly disagree with you on that.
I don't know. I read some stories about some Taco Bell employees that were adding some love to their recipes.
Ew. Soup gravy sounds pretty bad. Yeah, that sounds disgusting. Here you go. This is a popular one. Hawaiian pizza is overrated. I'm not that person that's going to tell you you're not allowed to eat anything because I'd be damned if anyone came into my house like, you're not allowed to eat that. I'm like, I'm going to eat it now just for
Hawaiian's fine.
It's fine.
I'm not ordering it, but if someone offers me a slice, okay.
Yeah. I think you should eat whatever you like, but I'm not going to publicly shame. It's like, I'm the pickles guy that hates it. I'm not. If you like pickles, it's more for you. Good for you. And this is the last one. And then we'll talk about football because we're 9 minutes in and haven't mentioned shit about the game. MREs, fun story. I told a kid when I was in basic training that this was the same company that Purina One was ran by, and he thought we were eating actual dog food, and he had like a panic attack. I hate these things. These are people that enjoy eating meals ready to eat. You got to get your taste buds checked out, man. Those things, it's freeze-dried dog shit food.
I was going to say, is that Is that the freeze-dried food that like this will last 25 years?
Yes, and it
Yeah.
comes in a depressing brown packaging, and they gave them to us because it's something you can open, you can mix it together, and eat it really fast. It tastes fucking terrible. There's like 40 different ones, and 2 of them were okay because it was like, here's spaghetti, and it was literally like a Chef Boyardee knockoff. So you're like, okay, I can manage to get by on a meal for this. I feel bad for the guys that were outside. You know, we call it outside the wire, where you're just, I'm in Afghanistan and I'm out off the base for 2 weeks, and this is what we have to eat. I would have looked like a freaking a patient in the hospital. I would have lost so much weight because I wouldn't eat that shit.
That sounds like a YouTube channel. Kyle Smith reviews MREs. Like you
There's
eat
definitely
you eat
there's a market for that.
one a day for 40 days or something.
Andrew knows. Yeah, if you need to hold off on your toilet paper consumption and purchasing, hey, that'll stop you up real quick. It's a lot of fun. I'm glad we explored this avenue on the Purple People podcast. Let's get to the game last night so we can get to a crazy win, guys.
Did
The
anyone else go
Vikings,
to this game expecting Minnesota just to get whooped?
I didn't think that they would get whooped, but I had 2 things in mind. I thought that maybe they would get down to the wire and something would happen, which is exactly where I'm going to go and start my show, or our show, off with the donkey. Greg Joseph.
My show.
Yeah, this is my show. My donkey. I'm going to start the show with my donkey. Greg Joseph, I felt it coming, and I texted you guys in chat. I was like, here it goes. Not only did the extra point kick you in the butt, but you missed a field goal, which we can talk about the situation should Kevin O'Connell.
I don't mind the missed field goal because that was long.
Yeah. But like it's your job. It was right at 50. I've watched the guy, and I understand this doesn't happen every single time he goes up to kick a field goal. I watched the guy make a 61-yarder in that building last year. I'm like, because you're thinking about it. Okay, we're out of range for a field goal to tie, so they have to go and score to beat us. But that's all they need. They don't have to worry about an extra point to tie or anything like that.
Right.
They just have to score a touchdown. And with the minutes and change, I'm thinking, oh, here it goes. The Vikings have outplayed them, and they even showed a stat last night of how long they were trailing, and it's like the longest this season or whatever. They're going to give this game away. I really want the kicker to just do his job, because up until this point in the season, we've only mentioned him like once for an extra point. Didn't like that, and it could have been a little bit more out of reach had he had made that extra point and that field goal. So let me get the negatives out of the way, because pretty much everyone else I'm pretty okay with from last night. What a crazy game. No one in the professional analyst booth before the game picked the Vikings to win. All 49ers logo, and they played the best game of the season so far, hands down.
And I will be perfectly honest, I did not think the Vikings were going to win the game.
No.
I thought that it would be close, that they're a scrappy team. They would be in there. It would have been another one of those one possession games where if, hey, we fumble a ball here or we get a bad call there and that ends up costing us the game. That was kind of what I was expecting. This was a really entertaining football game. This was easily the most fun I've had as a Vikings fan watching the team this year. This was a good game. They played a really gritty performance by the Vikings. There were opportunities early on. Kirk throws the interception.
Oh, was that a 3rd and 10 on the Vikings' final drive there, where they decided to run to set up the field goal?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a situation that I don't think a coach can really win. Whatever decision they make is going to get absolutely scrutinized if it doesn't work. The only way to not avoid criticism there is to pick a play that works.
Correct.
Because, you could take a decision, okay, punt and trust your defense. You could run the ball, keep the clock running, kick the field goal. You can pass to try to pick up the first down. And if you throw it in completion, the clock stops and you give them more time. I mean, it's a tough situation all around, because it's all about the field position and the defense. Otherwise, if you don't make it that 8-point lead to where they got to get the touchdown and the 2-point. So that situation, I kept talking to my nephew about. I'm like, I don't think there's a winning answer when you ask what would you do in that situation.
Well, what I liked about this game is they started out with they got their interception and their turnover out of the way. It sucked. You felt it. It was very early. And I said, look, I'm not going to get upset because this happened so early. There's a ton of football left. And it's a heads-up play. Like, I'm more of a fan now than I ever have been, and hopefully I'll continue this path the older I get, of a good football game and a good play. That was a great play by Travarius Ward, I believe his name is. Rip the ball out of the receiver's hand. You got to do that. Come right back. Here's the 49ers daunting offense, and they got all these weapons, and Brock Purdy's super efficient. Christian McCaffrey's a machine. And the Vikings defense said, no, we'll take that back. They forced a turnover. Mm-hmm. Christian McCaffrey's third turnover of the year. So it's like, okay, these guys are human. And from that point, I said, okay, if this is the kind of game it's going to be, this will be interesting, and I'm happy to watch it. I'm not happy to watch the Vikings. Spoiler alert for all of you fans. I don't like watching them get clobbered and lose 40-3. Like that Dallas game last year, turned that off at halftime. Didn't watch the second half.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'll be honest with you. But I said, if this is the kind of game we're going to have, this will be fun because this team is aching for a win. Guys, you realize they hadn't won a game at home all year. All year they've been dropping home games, and you didn't want that to come in, and you don't want to start 2-5. 3-4, that feels so many worlds different than 2-5. But once they go down, they score. You see Addison doing his thing. You're like, okay, let's get in a rhythm. I don't see too many terrible missed opportunities for catches yesterday. But I'm going to let Adam take the lead on this. Dude, this offensive line had 0 sacks against Kirk Cousins, only 6 hurries the entire game. Oh, my goodness. The big boys, they were phenomenal last night.
And Ezra Cleveland was out.
Right.
So the starting line wasn't completely intact, but we got to take 1 second to talk about Christian Darrisaw, who is having an amazing season. I know Kirk took a lot of pressures and hits earlier this season, but they weren't coming from him, I'll tell you that.
So would you trade him? I'm kidding. That was the dumbest hot take on social media. No, I'm glad that you brought up the offensive line. I thought they really did play well, Smith. It's interesting that Ezra Cleveland not being in the lineup and the Vikings have maybe their best performance as a unit. I don't know if there's a correlation between that or not. I've always kind of been a fan of Cleveland. I've never said that he's elite, but I thought that he's a starting caliber.
Capable, yeah.
Yeah, he's a capable starting caliber lineman in the NFL. But boy, they really did have a good game.
Yeah, for sure. And all the Twitter and armchair GMs get to come out and have their victory. Dalton Risner looked great. And to Adam's point, to go back and echo, Christian Darrisaw is the best in the game at his position. It's wild to think that arguably, I don't think that Danielle Hunter is the best defensive end in the league, but he's playing like one, like a top 5. So there's an argument there.
Also, he's not a defensive end.
Yeah, linebacker.
Outside linebacker.
But I hate it so much. He's the top 5 at his position, but we have 2 of the best players at their respective positions, and they're both on the offense. Justin Jefferson, I'm not going to argue with anybody on that. When he's on the field, first time he's been banged up his whole career, he's the best receiver in the league. Now we have the best left tackle in the league, and somebody put it on Twitter.
Yeah, Joe is right. Arguably the best receiver in the NFL.
I love that.
Got to add arguably.
Yeah, why not? It's crazy that we have these pieces, and I'll get into a little bit of rumor mill stuff in a minute. But let's talk about this. The offensive line plays great. Kirk goes 35 of 45, which is awesome, especially when you throw the ball that much. The run game looked okay to start. They got away from it a little bit at the end, but I like the fact that they involved Cam Akers more. That makes me happy.
Yeah, Akers had more touches in the run game than Madison for the first time this season. And although statistically Madison had a better game, when you look at the numbers, it didn't feel that way watching the game.
That's very well put, Adam. Very well put. Having the stats right here, Madison 8 for 39, Cam Akers 10 for 31, 74 rushing yards. I mean, that's a little underwhelming.
Still no rushing touchdown.
7 weeks into the season. But this is one of those, if you do the betting thing online,
I think the
or whatever,
Steelers had 2 or 3, so the Vikings are the only team now that do not have a rushing touchdown.
It's so embarrassing. You got to have at least one. But Minnesota having 74 rush yards, that's a little underwhelming for me. Closer to 100 would be great. But this is one of the biggest shockers. If you did like DraftKings or MyBookie or whatever, and they had a thing that said who will have more rushing yards, Minnesota or San Francisco, I would have hammered down on San Francisco having more rushing yards. They left with 9 less yards than the Vikings, 65 yards total, 45 yards for Christian McCaffrey. A long of 9. So he didn't even get a first down with his longest run, which is wild.
All right, without looking, Smith, how many rushing first downs did the Vikings have that game?
This game?
Yep.
5.
3.
Okay.
You know how many they got from penalties from San Francisco?
3.
I
asked this like at work. I said, hey, we're all talking this morning, training. We're talking about football. Because one of the guys is a Niner fan. Sees my lanyard. He's like, oh, you going to talk about the game? I was like, no, I can't believe it happened. I still am in shock. But I told them the fun fact about the Vikings having no rushing touchdowns still. So, yeah, if you say 3, like, well, guess how many of those came? I'm going to go with the same answer because, of course, that's right.
Right.
That's so funny, man.
That stat blew my mind when I saw that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Minnesota's rushing attack is that bad? That's terrible.
Well, you know what? I brought this up to one of my buddies.
And Kirk couldn't even get a sneak.
Oh, my goodness. Don't ever do that back-to-back ever again, please.
Can we take that out of the playbook? Like, that's not something that Kirk
That's
should
not
be
our
doing.
identity. That's not this team's identity. They don't need to try that. Philly, God bless you. You do it the best and better than anyone. That's not what we are. And then I think it was Fred Warner jumping over the line. It looked like a video game. Like that should tell you not to do that again. Fun thing though.
Yeah, Kirk will be bringing up that play on probably today when they were going through it with his laser pointer and being like, we are not going to run this shit again. Just him circling, getting hit right in the head by that guy, launching himself over the line like that.
Oh, man.
Am I the only one who, when I seen that happen, immediately thought, you can still do that? Like, I thought for sure the NFL would have had some rule about how
the only time you can't do that is on punts.
It's on punts? Huh.
Well, it made me laugh because it's, especially with Fred Warner's hair, it reminds you at a glance. I was like, oh, shit, is that Troy Polamalu coming in to kill somebody again? Like,
and Fred Warner ain't no young guy.
Yeah, that's true. You just have to marvel a little bit when you step back and look at the job they've done in San Francisco, man. Because like they were highlighting it last night, like, yeah, they can acquire pieces in trades like McCaffrey and Williams, but they get Brock Purdy on the cheap. They get this guy in the 3rd round, this guy in the 2nd, and it's like pretty good job over there.
So over on X, Twitter, I got a couple followers that follow me as well, and we're talking about the game, and one was like, well, the 49ers didn't have Deebo Samuel. I'm like, well, the Vikings also had no they were missing a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might have heard of him. Justin Jefferson. He's pretty darn good too.
And this takes nothing away from Deebo Samuel. If I were a 49ers fan, I would have been more worried about Trent Williams being out than Deebo Samuel because
I thought
you have Christian McCaffrey. Who cares if Deebo's out? You still have Brandon Ayuk. He was a 1st-round receiver. That's so stupid to me. I hate that. Well, this guy was out. Yeah, bro, read the fucking news. We don't have the best receiver in the league. I don't want to hear it from you, all right?
All right, so we got Smith's game ball. Who was yours, West?
Well, there's a couple ways you could go with it. I want to shout out Jordan Addison. Someone has to on the show. He, we need players to step up and make plays while Jefferson is out. And this was kind of his spotlight game. Hey, here's a big stage. It's Monday Night Football. You got an opportunity to go out there. And we've seen him early on. Kirk throws the interception when he was targeted. That was a moment where he could have fallen back and not really progressed and just kind of went quiet for the rest of the game. But he was able to, put that play behind him and go out there and continue to have a really good game for the Vikings. There was the second time where he's able to rip the ball out of the defender's hand. It's crazy how good receivers are in the NFL now, that a play like Addison made where he rips that out, like that should be a highlight all over ESPN. And it is, but like we're so used to these amazing plays like this that you almost gloss over them a little bit.
When the Vikings get a win like this, why is the national narrative always what's wrong with San Francisco, not what's right with Minnesota?
Every time I saw it today, it's like, of course I'm going to bring him up, Colin Cowherd. If I'm Minnesota, I'm calling today and trading Kirk. And it's like, Colin, I understand. I'm going to listen to your point because I want to hear your angle. Kirk has already vehemently said, I am not going anywhere. My family is here. We've been here for 6 years. I'm not going somewhere on a half-season rental. Like, do you watch the guy? He dresses like a youth pastor, and he eats Pizza Ranch. He likes to go home to his wife and kids. He's not going to go to freaking New York for half a season or wherever you think that you could make this. I hate this narrative so much because it doesn't make sense.
If the Vikings would have lost this game, hey, we got our asses handed to us. It's, we only score 3 points and we're just absolutely blown out.
No.
And look like shit.
For a second.
Oh no, we did not. We must have lost to you. So I heard West the whole time.
Damn. Oh. Okay, sorry about that.
All right, no. Anyway, I was just saying that, if the Vikings get absolutely blown out, like you could have been having this conversation about trading pieces and parts. But we're at that bottom part of the circle of misery that is being a Vikings fan, where it's like, we were doing poorly, but now we are in the false hope stage of, you can't do it now. Now you got to keep all of them because now we just beat a team that was favored to go to the Super Bowl. So...
But I kind of get where Colum's at. I mean, right now would be a time to sell high if you can.
If you could. That no trade clause has so much more weight than people understand. And the national narrative, like you guys both said, is the thing is, what's wrong with San Francisco? It's not like, Minnesota just played their ass off. A couple of people did say that last night. But the weight of that no trade clause, they really don't understand if you don't pay attention to the team like we do, like as fans or the local beat writers, whatever. Kirk's not going anywhere. He's not going to accept that. And I understand, like he said, well, maybe you get a 1 for him, maybe you get a couple of 2s. That sounds great on paper. People want to trade Danielle Hunter too right now because he's so high. And it's like, okay, who's going to give you a 1 for him right now? You have to leave it there. And then when you ask that question back, I wish we could ask them live on their show. Then it would make them work a little harder because I feel like that's a lazy thing.
The problem is that any team that would want Hunter right now would have to be a contender that's looking for a pass rusher. If it's a contender, that first-round pick is going to be so late that at that point, you got to kind of wonder, is it even worth it?
I want to I'm going to get to you guys' comments here in a second. I want to say this because it's getting farther and farther removed with time. But Kyle West gave his game ball to Addison. I want to point this out. Did you guys notice last night that he was Jerome Simpson all over again and got like 3 or 4 calls to his way because the freaking DB could not get off?
Did you also notice Addison picking up 15 yards on a second and 17 and motioning for a first down like Jerome Simpson?
I didn't see that one. That's hilarious.
I missed that one too, but that is awesome.
So that's
why
I thought
Purple Pocket. Hey, thank you for tuning into our show. We appreciate that. So we back. Yeah, especially with the schedule coming up. God, that was the biggest talk today. We'll highlight this. The Vikings don't have any winning teams right now on this docket. Now, obviously, this will change as the weeks go by and the games get played. But as of right now, it's a lot of Russell Wilson and Jordan Love and Justin Fields and whoever the Raiders have and Derek Carr.
Don't forget a couple of Jared Goffs there at the end. That's going to be
Jared
big.
Goffs at the end I don't like. And here's the thing. I still think they have 2 trap games. Going to Denver, they don't play good there ever. And watch them go and fuck around in Atlanta and get the shit beat out of them by Atlanta. And they just hand the ball to Bijan Robinson the entire game, and we can't stop it. Be on the lookout for those games because Atlanta sneakily has like a slightly above 500 record.
We've already talked about how good the offensive line was and how good some of these weapons were. And that's why Kirk Cousins is going to get my game ball. Just because they finally gave him time to play. And he went in on this narrative that he can't win in prime time, and he got it done in prime time. And there was one play in particular where he was surrounded, and I looked at my nephew, and I was like, well, he's going down. Nope. Kirk steps up and delivers a laser.
Like Eli Manning-esque in the Super Bowl. I thought he was sacked. I was like, oh, it's a sack. And then I looked up and the ball comes out. And my immediate thought is, oh, no, interception. Oh, my God, that was completed. Oh, he didn't get sacked. Wow.
I couldn't believe that.
So let's go back to this because I want to talk about this. I want Kirk to stay in Minnesota, Sergio Moreno says, but not if he still wants the organization to break the bank. He needs to take the Tom Brady route and not ask for too much. Here's the problem with both of those, Sergio, and we can have like a nice, friendly discussion. If you're Kirk Cousins and they end up squeaking back in the playoffs after a crap start, mind you, Kirk Cousins has 16 or 14 touchdowns on the year, and we're not even halfway through the season. If he goes and throws 40 touchdowns this year, he has every right to go. They paid Daniel Jones $40 million a year. 45.
Well, think about it this way too. If Kirk gets $40 million next year, Minnesota already owes him $20 next year, so he'll be a $60 million quarterback.
I don't like that at all for any quarterback, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, and that is the one and only. Here's why. Number one reason I don't want him to stay, unless it's super cheap, which is not fair to him. So I understand from that point. You have to pay Justin Jefferson. We didn't do it this season. He's going to want that extension or whatever this coming year. That has to happen.
Oh, yeah.
The formula is to get a younger quarterback. The problem I have with this is if they don't go get Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray or a stopgap, I don't trust this GM enough yet to make a choice to load up and give picks to go get a guy, because everything that he does right now screams trade back and find value, not let's gamble on the future. Whether you like that or not.
As far as the draft picks, I mean, you can argue all you want, but Addison's really the only one that really makes you go, okay. And you can look at what they got out of Ed Ingram and be like, okay, he might not be the best, but he's contributing.
Right.
Ed Ingram, for all the frustrations we have with Ed Ingram, he's not at the Ezra Cleveland level yet, but like he's getting there where he's not a Pro Bowl player, but he's going to be a serviceable starter, I think, for the Vikings. There's been some major growing pains with him, but he is getting better as a player, I think.
Yeah. And the line is playing well and helping him, rise his level of play, which I appreciate. But
like
we were all on board.
And some of these other guys, it's tough to defend those picks.
Lewis Cine being a healthy scratch for the second week in a row is just absolutely a death nail in his tenure with the Vikings.
53 just to keep on the sideline?
If you ask me, you make up an injury for him and you put him on IR to get him off the roster. Because you don't want to bench any
of the current safeties that are playing.
They're playing great. That's
they are. I think Metellus out even to put Cine in because Metellus is playing well.
Then why did you make the pick? And I know you made the pick because you're hoping that Harrison Smith is, he's going to retire and you've got your replacement in hand. But couldn't you have made the pick this year? Like, why did you have to do it when you did it?
Why do you have that? Too is like I feel bad for Lewis Cine because I want to see him play, but the other guys are playing so well. Everything that could go wrong in this kid's favor has.
I think they wanted Cine for that Joker role that Metellus has, but Metellus is just
he's doing well. He's doing well. And remember, we've talked about it on this show this season so far. When that contract came out for him, people were pissed, and it's like, no, give it time. And now, like, I expect him to make plays every game, which he has been doing.
I don't think the Vikings will actually do it, but out of all the players that you can make an argument for trading before the trade deadline, if anyone wants Lewis Cine, what are you giving me for him?
I think he would get a fifth at the best.
Well, I can see teams calling about Cameron Bynum now.
Yeah, 1 million%.
And if you are one of those guys that's like, okay, Minnesota can trade Bynum and they have Cine healthy, do you consider that at this point?
No, because Bynum's playing too well. You don't get rid of that.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that.
Yeah,
I think the fan base and the team loves him too much, and he kind of fits now. And it's amazing how he started this season. That defense, you're like, man, I don't know about it. Now it's aggressive, and people are making plays, and Daniel Hunter leads the league in sacks. You're like, I think Brian Flores knows what he's doing.
Occasionally, Brian Flores runs a zero blitz, and it comes to bite you in the butt a little bit. But
that's what happens when you're aggressive all the time, though.
Yeah,
You know, I'm
it
cool with dying by that. I'd rather them die by being aggressive than that shit last year where they're like, please don't score a touchdown on
I
us.
almost gave my game ball to Scotty Too Hottie because there were some pretty sweet worms.
That's
They were,
hilarious, dude. Good reference too. Cam Bynum had an emotional speech after the game. It was beautiful, talking about trying to get his wife here. I love that he's all about his country. Like, I love everything about that kid.
Yeah.
So I got to go back to this, though. I want to put up Sergio and Andrew's stuff. Guys, I say for low 20s for Kirk since he already made his money. You can't ask him to do that. The salary cap only goes up, which
he's
means
already going to get 20 from Minnesota no matter what next year.
No, even if he's not on the team, he'll get 20.
Right.
But the point being, you can't ask someone who's having a career year to take a discount. And I understand the logic, but from where you guys are thinking, you cannot ask him to take less money for playing better. That's not how that works at all. And his agent would be like, "Are you crazy?"
Like Sergio, yes, we can.
You can lowball him, but you can't expect him to have any interest in that.
Yeah, but we're playing in reality here. You want to keep him on the team? Like, would you go to your job and have the best year of your life, and then be like, they come back and say, "We'll give you 2/3 of what we paid you last year." You tell them to go fuck themselves.
We know that Kirk likes it here in Minnesota, and his family's here. And like you said, he doesn't strike me as the kind of player that's going to want to go play in a big market. You know, the
even
Jets
taking like
$35
million would be a discount.
That would be a discount, but I'm still on the train to say this, and I'm gonna catch hell for this, and I don't care. I don't hate Kirk Cousins for all intents and purposes. In my opinion, the only guy not named Fran Tarkenton, this guy's the best franchise quarterback you've ever had. He's been very consistent. He's got all the numbers. Yeah, you can blame whatever for whatever year why it didn't work. He's a franchise guy, and I have nothing negative to say about him because I do believe he cared and wanted every game to play his best and win a Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
But it is time to move on from this dude. And I'm not saying that out of he plays like shit. We know what he is. He's a top 12 quarterback on any given Sunday, 10 if he plays like he did last night. That's it. And I understand that you guys would be like, well, what might not work? You're damn right. The science and math on it says when we pick the next quarterback in the draft, it's probably not going to work. But you have to try. I don't want to keep settling for, well, we'll just keep re-signing Kirk Cousins. Go take a swing. Please, just take a swing. He's not going to get any younger.
Do you think you can, in this day and age, kind of do the Favre to Rodgers transition where you're the Vikings and you keep Kirk Cousins and you re-sign him? Let's say you're able to get a little bit of a hometown discount and you draft a rookie and you trade up and you get that top 10 rookie quarterback. Are you able to do both? Or has the league changed so much that if you trade up and you're in that top 10 and you draft a rookie quarterback, you start them immediately?
If the line plays like it does now and you got a good coach, in my opinion, like we do, if he shows you like Russell Wilson, you remember when they paid Matt Flynn all that money? Russell Wilson came in and he was clearly the better quarterback. Play him. If he's not ready, don't do what Carolina did. Carolina should have started Andy Dalton this year, and I will die on that hill. You should let Bryce Young develop. I think we have a good enough offensive line. He could start, but we don't have good enough running back room. And guess what? Outside of an offensive line, guess what the best friend, not named Justin Jefferson, is to a rookie quarterback? A good running back to turn around and Christian Ponder to every time. And we don't have that right now.
So we saw Kenny in there on kick returns, but
Kenny Omega
did not get involved in the offense.
Kenny Powers? Yeah, I didn't see him in the offense. I did like that they used Ty Chandler a little bit to see his speed and his size, but I mean, I guess I'll take the win as a fan just to see that he's back and healthy and we actually have someone to attempt to make a kick return.
If my nephew was here, I know who he'd give his game ball to, or his donkey to. He'd give it to Johnny Munt because when TJ Hawkinson got hurt, Munch came in, and the first play, he got a false start.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
And the rest of the game, he was like, Johnny Munch, damn it.
It's so funny, dude. I'm getting to you guys' comments, and I like the engagement for this Kirk conversation too. God, that's so
Kirk
funny,
is
Adam.
always you always get good engagements talking about Kirk.
Here's the thing with that as well. Kirk will have a market next year, so he'll have options, but we'll need someone to back him up and develop, especially before JJ gets upset. You don't want to upset your star wide receiver. You do want to have someone capable back there. But I also
can't have
believe
Kirk taking up like 40 to 50% of the salary cap.
that's not how you keep people on the team. That's how you lose Darisaws and O'Neills and Hawkinsons and guys. I'm not saying those guys are particular, but that's when you start going from blue chip players to B-minus guys.
Because there are some other players that do need some contract work. If you want them to stick around, KJ Osborne is leaving after the season if they don't work something out.
Sergio
and I'm sure they'd like to have KJ Osborne stick around.
Yeah, no, I don't mind KJ at all. I won't be upset if he leaves, but I also am not going to be like, get rid of him. Like
I think
he's been a fun player.
He's overextended himself to be a wide receiver 2. He is that wide receiver 3. I think that's his natural fit on an offense.
Yeah, he's a great 3 fit. Addison is ready to be the 2, I think.
Yeah, well, if you wear number 17 for this team, you have to be the wide receiver 3. That's the rule. That's your role. All right. You are going to be Jarius Wright.
It's a good comparison. All 3 of us were big fans of Jarius Wright, and he filled an excellent role for this team. And you felt it when he was gone, when you didn't have that reliable big play receiver who could come out in those crucial third down moments and make plays for this team.
You know who did come in and get opportunities to make some plays is Brandon Powell.
He did. Man, I was impressed with Brandon Powell.
And he was fired up.
He's great, man. Coming in from LA, he has a Kevin O'Connell connection from the Rams. Especially last night when guys are getting banged up, Jordan Addison gets his ankle rolled. You saw Tristan Jackson in there. Brandon Powell stepped up last night. He had a couple clutch catches, and for all the credit to the line and for Kirk, but shout out to Brandon Powell for making those catches in those moments.
Just a quick mention, because this has nothing to do with what we're talking about the game at all. But did you guys see Jared Allen on Celebrity Wheel of Fortune?
No. What the hell?
You may need to hop on Hulu and check that out.
Nice.
How do you do?
That's awesome.
I ain't spoiling that. You know that.
I love that.
I miss Jared Allen. He was one of my favorites.
But it's him, Rashad Jennings, and one other player I don't remember. I think it was another running back.
Also, I made the joke of KJ wearing 17 and being Jarius Wright. The only time we had someone else for 1 year, and I should have asked my buddy that works for the Vikings about this, because I asked about Sam Bradford in that magical year. Why the fuck didn't they keep Aldrick Robinson? That he had such a nice connection with Kirk. There's a player we don't talk about enough. Hey, I randomly signed with a team and I had 5 touchdowns, but I'm not going to bring it back. Like, I don't know. I really like that guy, but I digress. We're not going to talk about random wide receiver 3s. I do agree with you, Andrew. The market will decide what happens with Kirk, and I don't see many other teams laying down a huge offer. And this is it right here. I prefer to keep him and draft the future. This, Sergio, you're 1,000,000%
that would be ideal.
This is the most ideal situation. Do I think that it's the most probable? I don't know. I'd like that. The thing that sucks about this is the thing that sucks anytime you draft a quarterback. If he has 2 shitty games in a row, this fan base is going to diarrhea all over Twitter and be like, put the rookie in, Kirk's washed. And it's like, yeah, we're paying him $42 million. That kid is not coming in unless he's on a freaking stretcher, okay? We're not doing that. So I like this idea. I still, and I'll go back. I know I just said it on the show. I don't think that this GM and this coach are going to trade 2 or 3 ones to move up to get Drake May or whomever. I don't see them doing it. And here's what sucks. We're happy and we're on cloud 9 because they won. We start winning games and getting to the playoffs. You can kiss a good quarterback goodbye in the draft next year. When you draft at 20 because you started winning, they're not going to give up 3 or 4 firsts to go get a guy. I don't see that at all.
The Vikings circle of misery.
There it is. This is what you get for winning. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm not going to take away a win. This was a quality win, best game of the season so far, and I'm happy to see them.
Do you want to know the biggest clickbait bullshit take I could come away with from this game? The Vikings played much better without Justin Jefferson. You should trade him. You should trade him and get a bunch of picks so you can get a rookie quarterback. I'm kidding, but there has to be someone on some Vikings website writing that article right now, right?
He hates it so much here. He came up to Kirk after they won and put a chain on him because they hate each other so much.
He put the chain on Kirk because the chain symbolizes that he wants to be let free from the shackles of Kirk Cousins.
And the Minnesota mediocrity, and he wants to leave, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That dude was having the most fun you could have by not playing last night. And I was fired up watching him be fired up for Jordan Addison. It's so much fun.
Yes. He is such a team player. That's what's amazing about him, is that he hasn't hit, and hopefully he doesn't hit that diva stage. It hits almost all the big-time wide receivers. I mean, Stephon Diggs started out pretty humble guy.
Seen some of those Justin Jefferson commercials. Like that Little Caesars one?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Little Caesar one's hilarious. And then I think he has like a sleep number one as well.
Oh, yeah. I think you automatically get a sleep number ad once you sign with the Vikings. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, they're sponsored by them. He was in Fortnite too, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Playable character in Fortnite.
Yeah, I'll wrap up the Kirk stuff and we'll go through some stats and we'll talk about stuff going forward. But
we still haven't done donkeys either.
No, I started the show with my donkey. Greg Joseph, get your shit together, all right? It should have been 26-17 last night. I don't care that it was a 50-yard field goal. Do your job, damn it. Because I didn't have anybody else to pick. I wanted to pick on Kevin O'Connell for not going for it on that third down.
Yeah.
But I understand going for the field goal. Dude, outside of that, like it's kind of like with Kirk, right? He throws the one pick that really wasn't his fault because the DB was like, give me that ball. Outside of that, Kirk played arguably his best game of his career. I still believe the 2019 Saints game was bigger because of the stakes, and they weren't supposed to win that game. But watching him play,
they were.
No, dude, we were a wild card going into New Orleans. They weren't supposed to win that fucking game.
I'll go generic with my donkey. I will go for the Vikings run game because it's pathetic.
Yeah, it's anemic.
I'm gonna go way outside the norm. I'm gonna give one to my dad for starting Julio Jones in fantasy football and thinking that was gonna do anything, and then I think he put up 3 points, and I'm like, you could have started literally anyone and gotten more than
Jones is gonna go to the Super Bowl with the Eagles and win a ring
there's
this
some
year.
Interesting things going on with the Vikings in this game. Joaquin Roy starting on the defensive line was interesting.
Did you call him
He
Joaquin?
seemed to do a good job holding things down.
Jacqueline Roy, is that his name?
I call him Joaquin Roy. I don't know how you actually pronounce it.
I want to make sure I'm not saying it wrong. That's why I was confused. I was like, am I fucking this guy's name up when we say it? Yes.
I mean,
he got to start.
We used to do that on purpose. Remember when we used to call
Adam Thielen?
Oh, yeah.
Adam Thielen until people got pissed.
We were just doing it and getting people so fired up. It was great.
So pissed.
And we were doing it deadpan too, which was even better.
I didn't officially give away a game ball because there was a lot of good performances. I really enjoyed Kevin O'Connell's chess match he played last night because there's been a couple times.
Yours to Bynum.
No, I just did the donkey to start because I wanted to get that out of the way.
You should give it to Bynum. Bynum is deserving of one, I think.
Well, we did Bynum and Kirk and Addison, any one of the three. You could. I wanted to give mine to Darisaw or somebody on the line. I can't believe with that all those gargoyles they have on the defensive line in San Francisco, they didn't sack him once. That's crazy. That's the craziest thing that happened last night. Was you guys didn't get to him one time. That's wild to me. But
the Niners are scary in the trenches. I thought they were going to get whooped in the trenches all game. But Minnesota actually won the time of possession by almost 10 minutes.
To the sideline reporters and their stupid questions. I love you, Andrew. Yeah, that was crazy, Adam. They, to your point, I said it earlier, they showed a stat that I think for the whole season up until last night, San Francisco had only trailed a couple of minutes, and they trailed all of the game. And historically, I heard this today, Kyle Shanahan's 0-28 going into the fourth quarter where they're down by more than one score. So they can't win from behind.
And I want to say Minnesota converted 8 of 13 attempts on third down.
It's insane. That's awesome. You got to think too, half of those that was just third downs. Half of those, some of those were converted on first and second down to keep going.
Yeah.
So they were on a roll last night. This is the team we wanted to see come out and play. I still feel like I'm not even going to go that direction to be negative.
Well, we weren't seeing a lot of the mistakes we saw previously in the season. I mean, we still saw the one Kirk Cousins interception, which, even the second throw that Kirk made, that Addison and number 7 there for San Francisco fought over, that easily could have been another pick. But Minnesota did a much better job of winning the turnover battle. Interesting to see that this was the first game in Brock Purdy's career that he threw more interceptions than touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's really a testament, man. I know that there's a whole story and 5 different angles you can take on that whole situation with San Francisco, but I really do think the way they built that team and that coach in particular, they can beat 90% of teams most of the time. I don't know. I guess it was just all 3 things for Minnesota clicking last night to get the best of them. And I know they were missing a player, but so are we. I don't want to hear that.
I have a lot of sports people on my TikTok and scrolling. I had a lot of, look, Brock Purdy's a fraud. No, he's not a fraud. He looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks for where he was drafted and he's too undersized. He's a baller, man. He goes in and does his job very well.
Moving on from the guys they did to keep him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love his story. And everybody rallies behind him. What we don't take into effect a lot.
You know who else is also pretty good though? Is Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I didn't like those calls in that game. I hate that the Browns won again.
Gardner.
Those Colts uniforms are pretty sick, though. If you guys saw the game this weekend against the Browns, those dark blue.
You mean the NFC Pro Bowl uniforms?
Yes. That's a very good description, Adam. I like those. For a one-off, I don't mind those games for Indianapolis. Pretty cool.
We got the really confused Tennessee Titans wearing the Houston Oilers throwback uniforms coming up, I believe, this week. I understand that that's technically where the franchise relocated to, but can't we just let the Houston Texans wear the Houston Oilers throwbacks? I mean,
at least the Ravens don't wear, like, Cleveland Browns. That's where they came from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least that didn't happen. I think the Browns had to, like, campaign to get their own history back.
So when the Browns left to Baltimore, they left the history of the franchise, which is a thing you'll never hear before, but they left that in Cleveland to become the Baltimore Ravens. So they didn't
wasn't Baltimore Colts at some point too? Where have I heard this from?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
That's true.
Oh shit. I just had that like Rain Man moment. I'm like, Baltimore, and then my brain goes Colts. I'm like, why am I putting these two together?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a thing at one point in time.
That was a thing.
You know what's crazy, dude? We're talking about these throwbacks, these weird uniforms. I am a huge fan getting to see these other teams. Like, they lost last week, but the Tampa Bay Creamsicles, they're up there for me.
The throwbacks are fun. The NFL really
I know
needs
West
to
doesn't
stick
care
with
for the
this.
Kelly Greens of the Eagles.
I love them.
They look like an artificial Christmas tree.
I love those uniforms so much.
No.
I hate that city and team so much. Those are great uniforms. I love that the Vikings did their throwbacks this week. You know, I'm going to say it, though. Let's have that debate. Everybody get in on the chat while I still have you here. Who has the best throwback uniforms? I'm going to start it off. The New England Patriots, white with the red helmets. And yeah. I'm a little biased because I was in the military. Dude, those red, white, and blue uniforms are fucking fire. I love those the most.
You're talking about the one with the Patriots guy on the side of the helmet?
Yes, dude.
Yeah, those are some.
I love the creamsicle, and I do love a Dallas Cowboy throwback too. Those are pretty good, even though Cowboys are. They have a lot of good ones, man. I wish they would do more of these alternate uniforms. Like, I love the.
Is that the thing of the Carolina Panthers throwback? Do they have one?
I don't think they have the throwback. They have the alternate. I like when the Panthers and the Falcons do the all black uniform where they just have the trim of their other color, like the blue around the Panther, or the Falcons just have the red around the Falcon and the number. Those are pretty sweet.
I know Adam's favorite throwback, the Pittsburgh Steelers with the
stripes. Is that a throwback or is that all? I don't know the difference.
The brown and yellow. I have no idea, but it should never be worn.
The Packers ones are pretty bad too.
Packers ones are gross. Yeah, we agree, Sergio. The Packers one's terrible. that 1 star is a rating. That's one of the best football jokes. I love that one. Yeah, the Oilers of the Kelly Greens are good. I love the Creamsicles are a close second, but man, I love that. When they do the one-offs for those, even the Lions trying something new out. I don't have to agree with it, but I like that they're trying something different for one game. That's pretty cool. I'm not the hugest fan of what Detroit is pitching this year for their maybe their color rush or whatever.
Do you remember Seattle with the lime green?
I
Yeah.
like those.
The safety vest. Oh man, I didn't like the safety vest lime green.
I'm not a
look
fan
that
of
they
it
had.
either, but I laugh because it screams like the 90s to me, like that 90s like laser tag look. It's really funny. Yeah, you work in Dallas, you used to. I get it. I totally understand. Let's run down the game super fast. We already mentioned Kirk was 35 of 45, no sacks. The one-off interception. I wish we could label that a little bit different. Jordan Addison had a day, 123 yards, 7 of 10. Right behind him for National Tight Ends Day, 11 of 12 receptions. TJ Hawkinson, shout out to you, sir. I appreciate you.
TJ Hawkinson getting his mojo back. That's what we like to see.
That's the kind of Hawkinson we need day in and day out.
Yeah, like I was saying, a lot less mistakes. We weren't seeing those drops and lack of concentration in previous games. It was good to see that cleaned up. And also some of those times that Hawkinson roared after catching a football, that was good stuff.
Love that. He was fired up. Oh, here's a good stat because we've been, I wouldn't say we, but maybe a lot of other shows and people. Dean Lowry hasn't been impressive very much. He had a fumble recovery last night. Good for you, man. Going into the defense, Cameron Bynum, 2 picks, 9 tackles. There was 1 sack yesterday from Daniil Hunter, 4 passes defended. Harrison Smith was up at the top too, doing his thing with a pass defense and 6 tackles. So
Harrison Smith, for as much as all the fans and even the team itself have wanted to replace him, he's still damn good.
Yeah.
He might be old, but he can still get it done on the field.
That's what I love about Harrison. Like outside of one NFC Championship game where the entire team got shat upon,
right?
He's been consistent his entire career.
Are we sure that we're ready for him to retire after this year? Like,
no.
He can still stick around if he wants to. I'm fine with that.
Did you guys see that gigantic boombox that the Vikings had outside the locker room?
No.
Yes. It's hilarious. Hilarious because he was on Pat McAfee, and that's the first thing they talked about today. They called Harrison Smith after the big win. He's like, fuck. The funniest thing I've heard him say in a while, he's like, dude, I'm like the last one out of the locker room. I'm usually late to get out there, which is funny as hell to think about. It's like you're at the stadium, you hear all the noise, and you're just like taking your time, like sipping tea or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, the Browns did it last week, but he also said, like, he's like, we do stuff like that all the time. He's like, it's not like specifically to spite the 49ers, but
the funniest thing he said is I told them we don't have to do the team prayer before we go because as we're walking in the locker room, we got Creed on the radio.
That's right, damn it. Can you take me higher? Kirk said, yes, we can. I love this angle so much.
I love when we as fans can pick up on just how the team comes together and like what they do in like the locker room and stuff like that. Do you remember years ago when they had the rocking chair for Brett Favre?
Oh yeah.
I think that was Pat Williams and Jared Allen brought in the old man rocking chair for Brett Favre, and then they moved it to I think Antoine Winfield.
Oh God, that's so funny.
Oh
man, that's hilarious. What's up, Skull Soda?
Before the game because Dave Winfield sounded the horn before the game.
Yeah,
and I was telling my nephew, I said, this is kind of stupid because you know they don't blow the horn, right? I said, you know there's a button underneath the mouthpiece of the horn they push. Yeah. He's like, I didn't know that. I was like, well, now you do.
Which is hilarious because like some of those, especially last night, they really get into it and they try to sell it. And it's like, no, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything.
It's all just part of the show. It's okay.
Yeah,
sure. Also, my favorite stat of the night last night. Would you guys like to take a guess? We already talked about no rushing touchdowns, blah, blah, blah. But my favorite stat of last night.
Number of knees hit to Vikings players' faces by 49ers players.
And this one, too, if you saw George Kittle was like, I got kicked in the dick. They slowed it down when he's a hilarious dude. Like, it's hard to root against him. Yeah, Ryan Wright punted one time last night. Once. And it was like well into the third quarter.
Yeah, that was a touchback as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember he got a little too much leg on that one.
He did. Thick boy punter is too powerful.
You cannot contain.
But that's it. I mean, we're all happy. I think like this is a really fun show. I know we started off the rails and we asked random dumb questions, but I love the engagement. Andrew, Ryan was back, Skull Soda, Purple Pocket, Jonathan.
Well, something that's interesting is like when we first took a look at the schedule, we saw Minnesota had games against Kansas City, Philadelphia, and San Francisco, and we looked at those and said, okay, those three are probably going to be losses.
Yeah.
And right now we're looking at the Vikings, and they're at 3-4, I believe, right?
Yep, and they're 3-1 in their last 4 games.
And so, I mean, from the expectations coming into the season, we're not that far off from what most of us originally thought. So
we're not.
It's time to get back on the train.
And you look at the division, and it's a very winnable division.
Minnesota undefeated in the division.
Mm-hmm.
Undefeated in the division, and then the NFC is obviously a little bit weaker of the conferences compared to how many other teams you expect in the AFC. That's the narrative. But it's funny, like you said, and I think all of us, I would go back and check the tape, but I'm just lazy and I'm not going to do that. I think all of us looked at, like you said, Philly, Kansas City, San Francisco. We all probably thought there might be losses, but we all said, we'll beat Tampa Bay week 1. Well, that backfired pretty quickly, but I mean, it's any given Sunday, Monday, or Thursday, anything could happen. We're all fired up because of this win, and I'm glad I stayed up to watch it. They played a very complete game.
In the Survival League.
Yeah, thank you, Buffalo and Philadelphia, for absolutely trashing me the last 2 weeks, losing to teams you should not be losing to. Jerks.
We are down to 12 active players already. Only one person has no strikes. That is Sculpture Nation.
Nice.
And then we've got 4 teams, 6, 7, 2 teams with 2 strikes. And the rest have 1 strike. So, I mean, we still got a pretty competitive game coming here, and it should be fun to see how all this shakes out in the Survival League. Make sure you get your picks in.
Yeah, if you're in the Survival League, if you're like me and you need the reminder, thank God they send them out every Wednesday to tell you to pick. So they'll be sending something out tomorrow so you can get started before Thursday. But, yeah, the Eagles lost to the Jets, and I thought for sure they would win, and I thought for sure the Buffalo Bills would beat the Patriots, and they gave that game away. I still cannot believe the
Broncos beat the Packers.
Yeah, shout out to Denver. Thank you for that.
Wild.
It's upset weekend, man.
I was the only person in my Pick'em League, too, that took Chicago. I feel smart.
That was a good pick. I don't know that I'm going to pick Chicago for anything this year.
Well, I saw that Aiden quarterback, that Tyler Badgett, when he was starting against Minnesota, and he looked pretty good. Then I saw Minnesota didn't go with not Minnesota, but Vegas didn't go with their rookie quarterback. They went with Brian Hoyer, right?
Yeah.
So I swapped the pick as soon as I saw that, and I was like, okay, that's it.
Poor Brian Hoyer. He's like 0-13 in his last however many starts. It's
not good.
So bad. Talk about hanging on in the league too long. That's another Sean Mannion stat right there.
Do you think the NFL has finally learned to stop hiring coaches that were underneath Bill Belichick? It doesn't work. It's never worked. Have any of them worked?
No.
I mean,
the only good one that came from there is Flores, and he'll get back to it.
Kevin O'Connell, technically drafted by him, but that's not. I mean, he was a player.
I think Mike Vrabel is a good coach too, but he was also a player, not a coach.
He was a player,
directly.
So that don't count. I mean, maybe I'm being too technical, but that don't count. Like,
this is the best. If I was a Chicago Bears fan, this would be my fantasy football team name every year. Secret Bagent Man. Holy hell, that is so
videos like that on the
so good. Talk. Oh my God, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. I doubt he'll be playing when we play them again, but if he is, that would be have to like do a shout out and a call back to that. That's so funny.
So next week's a big game. Sunday, that 1:00 noon window. We got Minnesota traveling to Green Bay, the second division game of the year, big road game. Green Bay, although they are beneath Minnesota in the standings right now, they are a team you still have to take seriously. They've got good pieces and can play very well.
I don't believe in Jordan Love, but I agree with you, Adam. I think on paper this roster is very well put together, and this is all jokes and all that, whatever side. Like obviously they're the division rival, the one that we battle with and have the most beef with, but historically they do a pretty damn good job of building a roster, especially in the last 20 years. It's just that quarterback is not who they hoped he would be. So that hinders them a lot. But don't get it twisted. This is a game Green Bay can absolutely win. The Vikings have to play a lot like they did last night in order to come away. And if they win Sunday, they're back to 500. Man, that shit looks real interesting now.
Oh, yeah.
Real interesting.
Full of misery.
That's big.
I'll be honest, I heard on the NFL Network, hey, thanks. That's good to own up to that. I would have kept that like I came up with it, and you guys would have been like, you're not that creative. No. But yeah, we'll be back after this game Sunday. Hopefully they can keep it rolling. They'll be at 4-4. And then, God, the world's your oyster after that with the schedule they have. They've gotten through the worst of it. There's still a couple, like I said earlier, trap games. I don't like a December game in Cincinnati whatsoever.
By the way, my apologies. I did say 0-4. I meant 0-3. I will correct myself.
And we don't play Detroit until week 16. That's literally 2 months away.
Yeah,
so,
16 and 18.
Yeah.
And those two games could mean a lot.
They will mean a lot. I 100% believe they will be for the division if Detroit hasn't ran away with it. And if they have, this will be the Vikings fighting for their life to get back into the wild card. So shit's interesting. This is why it's a long season. Yeah, I'll be the first one, like you said, Adam, like 0-4, 0-3. Let me correct myself. I'll call myself out too. And when we started out 0-3, I was like, sell it all. I don't give a shit. This team sucks. Of course, these guys aren't going to quit in the middle. I think a lot of what happened last night was the perfect storm.
I do admit I was pretty defeated after that Tampa Bay loss.
Tampa Bay loss, and they played well with Philly and lost. And who did they lose in week 3 to? The Chargers? Jesus, man. Like, all of those winnable games, but I think through all the adversity, the team is really like they got tired of hearing it and they just found a way. If they keep this little energy and momentum they have going, they have a good chance to get on a little bit of a roll and kind of pick up some of the slack they've left behind. So
I just saw how long we've been going. What's been going on here?
I know we're talking about pickles and oysters and shit to start.
We talked about food for 15 minutes.
we sure did. Let's get some plugs in and out of here. First of all, before we get to individual stuff, if you guys have stuck around this long, please like and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, why?
Why?
Like
what are you doing?
Earlier, Kyle, you said it earlier.
Yeah, where we're at, leave a review, share it with your friends. Get everybody in here because the more people we can get talking Vikings football, the more fun we can have.
Mm-hmm.
It's very crucial for us on Facebook and definitely on YouTube, most of all. Hit the subscribe button, like this episode, turn on the notification bell on your computer or on the YouTube app on your phone. When I schedule these shows, I like to do it about a day in advance or at least early the day of. You'll get a notification real quick. Hey, the Purple People podcasts are going live at this time. You can join in. As you can see, I'm the moderator here. If you put a comment up and it isn't absolutely wild or terrible, I'm going to put it up and we're going to include it and we're going to talk about it. We love that you interact with us. So do us a favor, do yourself a favor, like and subscribe, and come back next week and talk about the Packers game. But right now, Adam Carlson.
If you head over to the Vikings right now, you will see my 6 takeaways from this game. And I had some real interesting thoughts, I think, on what was going on and what this game could mean for the future of the Vikings as well. So head on over there, click through some of my articles, make me a little bit of money. I'd appreciate that. I see that. I don't think anyone is watching right now over on my Twitch channel, but this show does go live over on Twitch, where once in a while, when my internet stabilizes, I do like to go live to play some video games or maybe talk about movies with Mr. Smith. Maybe we'll do a little bit more of that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to pick something out here soon and do another review.
You can also check me out pretty much anywhere on social media at MN Viking Zombie. I'm mostly trying to keep active on Twitter, which is X now, but interaction's been way down on there. I'm having trouble getting really any kind of conversation going, but I'm still posting. So why not?
And pick your handle there. I'm trying to comment and do all the producer shit as well. Don't ever leave me in charge, guys.
I already did my MN Viking zombie stint there.
There we go. Move on to Kyle. Sorry, guys. I'm typing away.
Hey, you can find me over on Blue Sky at Vaguely Square. That is my social media platform of choice at the moment. We do some Vikings talk over there, along with a lot of football discussion and whatever else pops up. Doing some photography work. Like I said, I'm working on getting everything consolidated down into one single website. That way it's easier to navigate and find everything. And I'll probably go back to purchasing my own domain name again too. Those are pretty cheap. To get one of those picked up and trying to get that stuff re-going. I took a bunch of fall photos today. So I have a whole bunch of stuff to go through this weekend and get processed and uploaded. So that'll probably be my first batch of uploads. So that's what I've been working on. So give me a follow and help spread the word.
Here's Kyle West's website where you can buy his photos, what we just mentioned, kylewest84.pickfair.com. You can also look up, is it Vaguely Square for Redbubble as well?
I don't remember.
We'll find that. We'll find that and include that.
That's why I need to get it all on one website.
Yeah, we do have Purple People podcast merch with Redbubble through Kyle West. So yeah, we'll get back to that when we find the actual link for it. But go buy some of his photography here. He's got great shots. Excited to see what you have coming up from this recent shoot, man.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Last but not least, if you want to follow me, I'm most active on Instagram and then on Twitter at NCDogDude. Yeah, it's a lot of Viking stuff, some music stuff, a lot of fun stuff with my son. We've been talking.
Send him all of your feet pics.
Yes, even if you have the hairy toes, I will take a gander at those. Thank you. Talk about Kyle's dog. Yes, we'll talk about my dog next week. Anything you want to know, Andrew. I appreciate that. Hey, I got to say it before we sign off. I know we get into discussions, whatever here. We always keep it positive. We'll never attack you or keep anything crazy going on. Thank you guys for engaging in, I know we're talking about Kirk Cousins. We disagree, we agree, whatever. All of you guys that are here every week, there might only be enough where we could fit a big dinner table full of us. But I can't tell you enough and say this often enough. This is so much fun, especially after a good win. We look forward to this the whole day. There's
a reason we're 536 episodes in.
Yes.
Hey, I just found a really fun stat. I can't take credit for this, but we have to end the show with this one. So this is called the Kirk Cousins curse. You guys ready for this? No team has lost to Kirk Cousins and played in the Super Bowl in the same year.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
So there you go. Don't bet on the 49ers this year.
49ers, man. They're not going to make it. The Eagles beat us. The Chiefs beat us. It's going to be a repeat again. Oh, that's hilarious, man. That's hilarious.
I got Ravens champions right there.
Yep.
I've got nothing else. Thank you very much, Adam.
Once again, I do want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat here. Always great to have you here. We will be back next week to talk about that game against the Green Bay Packers.
The win.
I'm going to go watch Halloween Havoc.
Hey.
In the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.